welcome. Thank you all for being here. Let me make sure that I have everything on. So welcome everyone. This is our Thursday night Bridging the Gap. I'm trying to send out the notifications because we was not on last week and Pastor Brandon is on his way. So I'm just super excited about the conversation that we are going to have today. For this last couple of weeks, we've been talking about separation. Hey, Miss Ann. And the separation that we talked about, it was so many things that we talked about as far as our walk with God and, being separated for purpose, being separated because of what God needed us to do. And, in this week, we're going to talk about, and I made a Kingdom Conversations this week for a reason. I made a Kingdom Conversation. Hello, Miss Ann, because I wanted to talk to I just want to do a recap of everything that we've talked about. We are moving in God, and separation is going to happen. Separations are going to happen, but we also have to make sure that we are equipped during this separation. And one thing that I love about God, that no matter what happens, God will allow us to be able to get into a place where even though we may be in a season of separation, there's also a season of preparation. And normally when he's preparing us to move into that next generation, we talked about with executive pastor Sabrina, one of the things that she talked about was the birthing of the child. And so we have to understand that separation does not always mean that it's going to be a bad thing. Yes, it's going to hurt. When you have to push that baby out, it's going to hurt. When you have to give birth, as women, we know the pain coming up to the point of giving birth. And then the moment that we give birth, we don't think about the pain associated with it. We are now holding the promise that God has given us. And so we have to look at the separation time. You may have to be separated from friends. You may have to be separated from the church. You may have to be separated from loved ones and family members. You may even have to be like Abraham and get separated from a location. But it's time for us to start moving in God. What I see and what I'm learning about God is he is exposing us to so much in this season. But we have to understand that the separation is not to kill us. It's for us to prosper. The separation is for us to get to that next level in God. And so many of you that's on, what are some of the things that you are dealing with the separation? It's kind of hard to have a kingdom conversation when it's just you by yourself. But what is it that you have been dealing with when it comes to separation? I've talked to so many friends and so many people, and in the conversations that I've had with them, one of the things that they've been wondering about is, what do I do in this separation? Hi, I'm Executive Pastor Sabrina. What do I do in this season of separation? What do I do in this season of it seemed like I'm stuck, I'm stagnant. I feel like I'm wandering in the wilderness, because when God allowed the children of Israel to leave Egypt, there was a season of wandering in the wilderness. There's a season of just how do I make it? How do I get to the other side? And one of the things that the Lord revealed to me on this week is that we have to let what he remove us from die where it's at. Because the children of Israel left Egypt, but their mindset stayed in Egypt. So their body left, but their mind stayed in Egypt. And they was wondering, why? Why am I in this place? Well, Moses, you should have left us in Egypt. You should have left us in the place of bondage, in the place of slavery. Why? Because they could not get their mind to look towards the promised land. When they were standing at the Red Sea, God told Moses, tell the people, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to see themselves on the other side. And I could only imagine what Moses was thinking in that season. What do you mean, God, for us to see ourselves on the other side? You want us to stop crying out to you and see ourselves there? In other words, he was saying, it's the mindset. Yes, there's been a separation period. Yes, there's been people that have walked away from you, that have hurt you. There have been churches that you had to leave because you have outgrown them. But I need you not to think about what you did in the past. That was preparation for where I'm taking you in this next season. That's preparation for where I'm going to have you move into. And so when we are in God and we're moving, hi, Miss Samantha. When we are in God, thank you, Miss Ann, for sharing. While we are in God, we have to understand that there's going to always be a transition. There's going to always be a movement. There's going to always be something that we walk into and some things that we have to walk away from. And, we can't stay in that place. How you doing, Mr. Anthony? We cannot stay in that place of brokenness. We cannot stay in that place of lack. We can't stay in that mindset that I was better off when I was in a bad place. Because even though it's hard in the middle of me getting to the promise, that does not mean that you stop. What if a woman stopped pushing when the birth pain came, when the cramps came, when the contractions came? What if as a woman we said, I'm not pushing anymore. I'm tired of the pain. I'm exhausted from the struggle. I've always the one, seem like I'm the only one doing this. My husband is standing here, but he doesn't understand the pain that I'm going through. But I don't want to push anymore. I'm so tired. And, I love watching everyone know I love medieval movies. But one of the things that I also love is medical movies. And one of the things that I've always seen, that when the woman gets so exhausted in the push, there's always the doctor saying, listen, I just need you to give me one more good push. I just need you to keep pushing. I just need one more good push. And the baby is right here and it's crowning. And see, many times in our spiritual walk with God, we will be right there at our breakthrough. And the pain is excruciating. The pain, it feels like it's trying to suffocate us. The pain, it feels like I just can't do it anymore. I can't love again. I can't embrace people again. I can't walk into my new season again because the old season hurt me. The old people broke my heart. The old people walked away from me. God, I just can't push anymore. I just can't move anymore. I just can't go into that next place. But what God is calling us in this season, He's calling us into a place of trusting Him. He's calling us into a place, because when they hear the voice of the doctor, and many times the husband, or they have someone in the room with them that's also coaching them, telling them, you can do it. You can do it. Just push just one more time, just one more push, and the pain is going to be over. The pain is going to cease if you just push one more time. And so that's why I'm here to tell you, yes, we've talked about the separation. We talked about how God was separated from Jesus. We talked about how Moses was separated from his kin people. We talked about how so many of the mighty men and women of God had to be separated from the place they was at, that comfort zone, but it's in that push. It's in the doctor saying, you can do it. It's in the person that's there saying, you can do it. And today I'm standing here with you, and I don't know the separation of the pain that you're going through, because many times separation can even be something that you lost. I had a earring, some diamond rings that I had this thing that belonged to my mother, and that's the only thing that I had left, and I misplaced it and I've lost it. And we're grieving the separation. We're grieving the thing. But when you have someone in your corner that's telling you, just keep going, just keep pushing, it's gonna break through. Once the breakthrough comes, then you'll be able to say, I understand it. But many times the pain and the pressure, and you can tell when you're about to push out the promise, because the pain gets so bad that you don't know if you're coming or going. Your mind is in a state of wanting to shut down. Your body is aching. Your heart is in a place where, God, I don't know what I'm going to do. But when you get to the other side, you can look back and say, God, I thank you. I thank you for separating me from that place. I thank thank you for separating me from those people. I thank you for moving me from that location. And it's in the promise that once we see the promise, once we hold on to the thing that God has said would happen for us, when we hold into it, I posted a picture this week about my husband, and he was in church, and we was just doing our little, we go through and we look at cities and we go into the churches and we walk around because it's just amazing to have that time. And we walked into a church and I turned around to see my husband praying. And to see that was an answered prayer. Because if you guys know the pressure and the pain that I've been, God, is he going to step into it? God, what's going to happen? But to turn around and see my answered prayer right before my face and looking at it, seeing how God was just resting upon him and the peace that he was having. So we have to remember that the pain, the separation is not to kill us. The separation is not to take us out. The separation is not for us to give up. It's preparing us. It's positioning us. It's giving us a understanding. When we know who God is, when we go through something and God shows himself mighty to us, guess what? We are now in a place where we trust him even the more. We believe him even the more, and even looking at some of you that's online right now, I have seen how there has been this trial of separation where you didn't feel like you belong, where someone told you that you had to leave, where you made a decision that you was leaving because you thought it was the right thing to do. It's time for me to move on. But then when you left, the pain hit your heart. The separation, happened. And I was talking to my therapist, you guys. And listen, my therapist is the best. I was talking to her and we was just talking about separation. We was talking about, what do you do when the people that you love, the people that you've been there for, the people that you are helped more than anyone else, because it seemed like it's the ones that you help the most. Those are the ones that turn on you. Those are the ones that walk away. Those are the ones who don't even give you the benefit of the doubt to say, hey, what really happened? Hey, is it something? Listen, I felt this way. What's going on? But instead they walk away. And so when I was talking to her and I was telling her about the relationship, and the question she asked me, is it possible that you're not grieving the person, but you're grieving the distraction? See, God understood that many times we are in relationships and friendships and just acquaintances where we are there because it's a distraction. It's keeping us from thinking about the things that we need to deal with. It's keeping us from writing the book that God has told us to write. It's keeping us from moving into the things that God is calling us to move into. So in this season of separation, of this season of pain, of brokenness, we have to trust God. We have to trust God. It was because the children of Israel could not let go of Egypt. So they had to go around the mountain until the generation that remembered Egypt. Remember the things that they did when they was in Egypt. Remember, they knew the suffering, but the suffering really didn't matter to them. All they was looking at is, we're in a different place. We're in a place that we're not comfortable with. See, I understood that I had to wake up in the morning in Egypt, and I had to work and be a slave in Egypt. I knew what I was going to eat in Egypt. I understand what was there because I was comfortable in my bondage. I was comfortable in my place of torment. I was comfortable in the place because I knew my routine. I knew the things that I was going to do. But yet when they left Egypt, they were still stuck in that place. So God had to leave them in the wilderness for 40 years. Why? So what they remembered in Egypt had to die in the wilderness. And many of us, we have to let it die in the wilderness place, in the place of stagnation, in the place of weight, because many times it feels like stagnation, but it's being still. God has you in a place of stillness. And because we're so used to distractions, we're so used to the phone ringing, we're so used to helping people with our problems, we're so used to being there for everyone else, that when we are in our stillness, when we are in our wilderness place, we don't like like it, but God is saying, this is the place I need that memory to die. I need those things to die. See, when they walked into the new, the ones who was going into the promised land, guess what? All they remembered was the wilderness. All I remember is the bad times. I don't remember Egypt, so I can't talk about Egypt, but I remember my wilderness place. I remember my place of stillness. And that's what I want for us to remember. Not that we are to stay in the wilderness place, but in that place of transition is not good. But what if you let the pain die in the transition? If you let the pain and the disappointment die in that place, it's easier for you to now embrace the promised land. Why? Because all I remember is the wilderness. I don't remember what happened in Egypt. I don't remember how they fed us in Egypt. I don't remember the house that I lived in Egypt. I don't remember any of the things because of the 40 years. The ones who left Egypt no longer knew anything about Egypt. The ones that was left in the wilderness to go into the promised land. See, God has to put us in a place where we think about the people that we left. We think about the things that hurt us. We thought about the loved ones that have departed, either by death or by separation. We think about these people and we love them. But God is saying, listen, I'm calling you into a new. I'm calling you to let go of that place that is holding you bondage, that is holding you in that stagnant place, that's holding you because your mind won't allow yourself to see the promised land. But the ones who was left in the wilderness, the ones that had been birthed in the wilderness, the one that grew up in the wilderness, the one that all they knew was the dry place, but they knew that God fed them in the wilderness. They know that they had no lack in the wilderness. They knew that God provided for them in the wilderness. They didn't know about Egypt, so they can't go back complaining about Egypt. All I know is where I am in this transition. All I know is how I feel in this separation. All I know is, God, even though my heart was hurting and I found myself on the floor crying out to you, all I know that in my separation season, you was there for me. In my wilderness place, you was the one that held me. You was the one that kept me up. You was the one that gave me the strength to keep moving. So God, all I know is that you have been there for me. And that's what I want you all to remember. God, all I know is that you was there for me. All I know that when the tears was running down my face and I had no one else to call because it seemed like everybody walked away. Everybody stopped calling. Everybody stopped texting. All I know is that it was you that provided for me. It was you that kept me moving when I wanted to give up. It was you that held my hand when I wanted to let go. It was you that put me in a place of rest, so that I can trust you, so that I can believe again, so I can walk again. God, all I know is that it was you that provided for me. All I know that it was you that kept me when I didn't want to be kept. All I know that it was you. And see, as they walked around the wilderness and they understood that God, I am in the wilderness right now, but I'm excited because I know that we're going into the promised land. See, I have nothing else to compare it to. I can't look at Egypt because I was never in Egypt. I know that you said that you parted the Red Sea. So I'm excited because I remember how you brought them out and how we're in this place. So now I have expectation that God, that one day soon that you're going to allow me to get into the promised land. See, the ones that was left in the wilderness, they had an expectation. Why? Because I wasn't holding on to Egypt. I wasn't holding on to the things I used to do. All I know is this place right here in my wilderness place. And even though it was hot and it was dusty and they was probably tired of walking around the same mountain day after day, month after month, year after year, I'm pretty sure there was times of celebration. There was times where they got together and they talked. There was times where the elders set them down and explained to them what God did for them coming out of Egypt. See, sometimes it's in that separation place. It's in that place of transition that God is allowing you to understand. I have you here today, but I need you to expect what I've already told you, that's the promised land. See, God has given each and every one of us a promise of a better day, a promise of prosperity, a promise of peace that passeth all understanding, a promise of the things that we desire in our heart. He has given us the promise, and we have to hold on to the promise, because I'm pretty sure the ones that was in Egypt, that was in the wilderness, all they looked forward to, because Moses was telling you that you're going to go to the promised land. We're walking now, but we're in transition to the promised land. Oh, it may feel bad now, but we're heading towards the promised land. Don't give up, because the promised land is right around the corner. See, I'm pretty sure they woke up every day with expectation about the promised land, because it was a land filled with milk and honey. So today, as you're moving, I want you to think about, what is your promise that God has given you? What is the thing that God said, if you trust me, that this is what you're about to step into. You and your husband is about to be a ministry team. You're going to be able to speak to people across the world. You're going to be able to be there for those who have walked, that need help, because you have gone through it. You know how it feels to be in a place of lack. You know how it feels to have a silent cry. You know how it feels to be broken and stagnated and tired and exhausted and wanting to give up. You know, because you have experienced it. But there's going to be someone that's going to cross your path that never went through it. They don't know how to handle it. But God is going to allow them to cross your path. Why? Because you have the answer. And the answer is Jesus. The answer is lead them to Jesus. You know, yesterday we did our day of fasting and praying with Apostle Sharon. And we talked about Psalms 1. And he said, listen, if you meditate on my word night and day, you will be like a tree planted beside the rivers. Hey, Apostle Sharon, and when you are that tree that's planted beside the rivers, guess what? You're not wondering about getting over on the other side, because in that place, in his word, in knowing who he is, there's a sustainment that's there. See, he sustained the children of Israel when they was walking through the wilderness. He sustained the children of Israel every year that they was there, because he knew that I have to let the ones who don't know, who's not looking towards what I'm asking them, that's not looking towards they don't have an expectation of the promised land. Because when I sent the spies in to come back and let us know what was in the promised land, they came back with a bad report. And so the people, instead of hearing the two spies that talked about the good things that was in the promised land, they only listened to the negative. Why? Because they wanted to go back to Egypt. They wanted to go back. Hey, that you watching from Pakistan, Sharice, and you know, we have to move in God. We have to understand that this season of our separation is not to kill us. It's not to have us wandering around year after year in stagnation, in doubt, in disbelief. God is saying, in this season of separation, I want you to see me. I want you to see me high and lifted up. I want you to see me as the one who will allow you to still be sustained in your wilderness place, to still be sustained. Why? Because the separation is your preparation. The separation, I say again, is your preparation to go into the promised land that God has for you. And each of us have a promise that God has given us, that God has spoken over our life, that God has put into the mouths of prophets, of spiritual mothers and fathers, that they have spoken to us, that now we understand that I'm in this place. I may be in a place of brokenness right now, because separation isn't easy. Separation hurts. And we go back to the birthing of the child. It hurts to push that baby out. But you don't think about that once you grab hold of the promise. When you grab hold of the promise, you're saying, yes, I was in pain, and yes, it hurt, and I'm crying, but I'm holding my promise in my hand. I'm holding the thing that caused me the pain because I had to go through. There's always going to have to be a breakthrough for you to get through what God is saying. So today I'm saying, listen, I know we've talked about separation, and And we have talked about separation up, down, and sideways. But I want you to understand that it's not about the separation. It's not about what was left behind. It's not about what was lost. It's about what you're about to gain, what you're about to step into, what God is about to do. See, is if we are not careful, we'll get lost in that separation season. We'll get lost in that grieving season. We'll get lost in that season of doubt because I love them. And many times in the separation, we're questioning ourselves. God, I did all that I know to do for them. I was there for them. I prayed for them. I walked with them. I held their hand through. And God, now they have walked away from me, and I'm in a place of grief. I'm in a place of loneliness. I'm in a place of doubt, that I'm even questioning who I am because I made the decision to be friends with them. I made a decision to have them be a part of my life. So God, is my discernment messed up? Am I really called to be a prophet to the nation? Am I really called to be a teacher or a preacher? Am I really called when I can't make the right judgment for people that I've walked with, people that I've been that I've talked about it and been there and prayed for? God, I really don't know who I am anymore because in this season of separation, I'm in doubt. And many times in the separation, what I've learned is they will separate from you without any justification. They won't come and talk to you and say, hey, because you did this, that, and the other, I'm walking away. I think our friendship has come to an end. And this is why I feel that our friendship has come to an end. But what they do, they leave you in a place of questioning. You are now fearful. You are in a place, if you're not careful, you will open up a door where the enemy can come in. Why? Because now I'm questioning my own self. I'm questioning my thoughts. I'm questioning my friendship. I'm questioning my discernment. I'm questioning my calling. And a lot of people talk about AI, but I went into AI and I asked the question to ChatGPT and I said, act as the devil. What would you do to cause me as a Christian, to cause Christian men and women to become in a stagnant place when when the separation happens and nothing is said? And he said, it's a place of, it caused stagnation. And ChatGPT said, acting as the devil, I would walk away from them without giving them a justification. I would leave them wondering why. I would take away not just my friendship with them, but I would take away other friendships, and I would leave them in a place of doubt. I would leave them in a place of wondering who they are. And see, and that was just ChatGPT, but many Christians, that's what we do. What has been done to us. People have walked away from us and not even said why. Because they know that in the why is the closure. In the why will propel you to that next level. Hi, Miss Susie. In the preparation, it will allow you to see how God is training you. But we're so stuck in the why. Why did they leave me? Why did they do me this way? What did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? So then you are paralyzed and you are in a state where you can't move forward. Why? Because now I'm rehearsing every conversation that I've had. I'm rehearsing every facial expression that I made. I'm rehearsing all the things that I did for them. I'm rehearsing all the way that they walked away from me. But I tell you, beloved, that this is your season of preparation. You've gone through the season of separation, and in the separation is the preparation for you to step into the promise that God has. If you don't allow yourself to get stuck, if you don't allow yourself to be in a place where the brokenness is there, the pain is there, we have to, and as I said, we have been talking about, hey, Pastor Brandon, we have been talking about the separation, but I don't want you all to get stuck in the separation. And that's why I'm closing the the series of separation, because I don't want you to always say, well, yeah, that was right. I was hurt. My feelings was there. I was broken. They walked away from me. But I want you to understand that the reason we brought up the series of separation, is because we that you need to know that your separation is for your preparation. Your separation is to allow you to step into a greater place. See, if you don't allow the separation to the things of the separation to die, like the children of Israel, if you do not allow it to die, you're going to wander until there's a new generation. You're going to be stuck until there's a new generation. And then you're going to be looking, wondering, oh, but why didn't I do what God called me to do? Because you were still in Egypt. You still had your mind in Egypt. You still had your mind in the place that they hurt you. You still had your mind in the place that they walked away from you. But today I'm telling you that you have to let it die so that you can go into the promised land. Because when you allow that separation, when you allow the pain to die, the brokenness to die, the bitterness to die in your transition period, then you're now I'm excited when I tell you I've had over a year and a half of separation. And it seemed like every time I was coming out of my grief period of losing the loved one, of losing the one. See, there's times that people walk away that you can't have a funeral. You can't say the words because they are still living. So I was going through that grief cycle. As soon as I was about to step out the grief cycle, another person walked away. And then I was right back in the grief cycle again. And just when I saw it, somebody else walked away. And the cycle kept going. And for a year and a half, I've been going through this cycle and didn't even know it because it was an underlying a part of grief that I was looking at. It was the underlying grief that I had that caused me to feel stagnant, to feel that I was still doubting who God has called me to be. I was still wondering, God, I know that you allowed me to do this, that, and the other, but something is off. Something is not clicking the way I needed to click. And it was that grief cycle that I was in. But just like the children of Israel, the ones that was left, they was hearing about the promised land. And I truly believe that every day they was talking about the promised land. So now the ones who died out that was in the mindset of Egypt, the new people, all they could think about was the expectation of the promised land, the expectation of crossing over. Because God, you told me, you sustained me, you prepared me for this transition. Now in that transition, I'm trusting God. So, Pastor Brandon, as you was coming in, I was just telling them about this time. The ones who was left in the wilderness, they didn't know about Egypt. So they couldn't mumble and complain about Egypt. All they knew and all they heard in this season was the new place, the promised land, the thing. Because we talked about separation, Pastor Brandon, and we've gone for weeks about separation. But I think it's time for us to know that to let go of the separation, because it's time for us to step into our promised land. So, when we talk about Joshua and them moving into the promised land, there were some things that God really told them that they had to do before they crossed over. Why is it important that we have our mind prepared for the promise that God has, even though we went through the separation period?
Oh, that's very important because what we have failed to realize, men, oftentimes, and it's funny you said that because I just mentioned this in our corporate altar, our Bible study, that a lot of times we're praying God for a promise or a particular blessing, but
Mm-hmm.
we're not mature enough to handle it. We
Right.
don't pray to ask Him, well, God, prepare me mentally that I can be a good steward of what you're about to give me, that
Mm-hmm.
I can not only be a good steward, but I can manage my time with it. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times we ask God for blessings, but we don't realize if we're not careful, we'll start making the blessings a priority and not the blesser.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important for us to really understand that when we're moving to the next step in our promise, we need to be asking God now, teach me how to handle my promise. Teach me how to manage what you're about to give me. Because too often right now the thing is everybody's about the financial thing. Yes, we're all going through different things financially, but at the end of the day, we have to ask God, okay, God, give me what I can manage at this time.
Right.
Because I would hate for you to bless me out of, what's the word that we use? You're just doing it because I ask you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do it just because I ask you to do it, then that means that I'm not really in a place where I can handle it. So the
Right.
Bible tells us that when we was a child, David said, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. But as I became
Mm-hmm.
older, when I became a man, I put away childish things. So we have to put in the concept that as we're moving forward, we
Mm-hmm.
mentally go ahead and prepare for moving forward and the things that we're about to
Right.
obtain. Because you cannot put new wine in old wineskins. You
Right.
cannot expect God to expand you if you're not ready to be expanded. Because it's just
Right.
like a rubber band that's not really meant to go but so far. After a while, that rubber band gonna pop. So you
Right.
have to be at a point that you are mentally elastic. You are spiritually elastic. You are able to be stretched to the point that God can give you more. We keep saying, God, enlarge my territory. But okay, God, if you want to enlarge my territory, enlarge my mindset. So when I'm
Right.
in the territory, I know how to move. I know how
Mm-hmm.
to make things work that it continue to be a generational wealth or a
Mm-hmm.
generational spiritual wealth. So that
Right.
is very vital that we understand that.
Right. And one of the things, Pastor Brandon, that I have noticed in my walk with God, that in every separation season, in
Mhm.
every preparation that He had, that when I did cross over to the other side, there was an awareness that hit me that allowed me to know that I was in this season of newness. I was in
Mhm.
this season where, it's almost like the springtime when the flowers are starting to bud, when the tree the leaves are starting to come back on the tree. When we talked about how we are moving with God, we have to understand that there's a cycle to
Yes.
everything. There's a season,
Yes.
there's a cycle that we must go
Yes.
through. But what I'm learning, that every cycle is the same. But if you most people don't look at the cycles that they go through, they just remember the pain part of it. They
Mhm.
just remember the isolation and the loneliness. They remember the thing that impacted them the most. And then they don't, when they get over to the other side, they forget for a season about the transition, about the separation. Why? Because I'm in the promised land. So I'm
Mhm.
in this place, so I don't think about it. But
Mhm.
throughout life, just like the seasons change, the four seasons, they're always, and you can look at the season. Now, sometimes it may be a little iffy because it may snow in April, but for the majority of the time, the seasons, you can tell the change in the season, and the season, they're never out of sync. There's
Yes.
always the cycle is the same. And we
Mhm.
have to look at our life as the cycles in our life, because if we don't remember the good seasons and the bad seasons, we will never understand when we are going into the wilderness, when we're going into the separation, and when we're about to go into the promised land. Pastor Brandon, when we are crossing over, what if in the midst of crossing over, they decide, oh, I got to go back. I forgot something in the wilderness. When the water was parted, when the things was already made for you to get to the other side, and then they go back. Why? Because there's something back there that I need to go back and fix.
Because we have a fear of the uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Because in the uncomfortable, you have no control.
My God, come on.
But if you go in reverse, you knew you had control of what happened. And when we learn to truly let go of control and let God be God, we can recognize and see that what He gives us is way better than what we lost.
Right.
When we learn to, as I put as a Facebook status, when we learn to value the no and be in
Mm,
expectation for the yes, we'd be a lot better. But too
right.
often we have the yes, but we rather go back to the no because we're used to that same dysfunction. We're
Mm-hmm.
used to that same comfortability. I can control this because I know God said He gonna supply all my needs, but I know I can make a phone call and I can get the money to write this, and then you have to keep trying to catch up to where you're at. Sometimes it's best. I may get in trouble for this. Sometimes there are some bridges you need to burn from your past, so you
Mm,
can't go back to it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that necessarily with people, but there are some things spiritually and mentally you need
Emotionally.
to burn that bridge. Like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going back to that place. I'm not going to leave no avenue, no gateway for nothing to cross over
Mm-hmm.
to me, nor that I can go back over. And so when
Right.
we learn to understand that if you already came over and defeated this, why would you want to go back? Why?
Right.
Because you're comfortable, you can control it, you know it, you're used to it. We have to
Mm-hmm.
learn that the process is always going to be tedious, it's going to be
Yeah.
challenging, but the promise has worth. And I
Mm-hmm.
would rather be in the promises of God and the blessings of God that adds no suffering, adds no
Mm-hmm.
type of
My God.
condition, then keep going back to the same thing that's always had to be strings attached. I always
Yeah.
had to perform something. I always had to do something.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you ought to get tired of being pimped.
Listen, as you was talking, all I could see was the strings of a puppet. Like,
Mhm.
you need to be tired of being that puppet where
Yeah.
people are making you smile and making you bow before them and making you
Mhm.
dance and two step. There has to be a
Yeah.
time where we're trusting God to cut the cords of the
Mhm.
puppet master, that we have to stop performing. We have to
Yes.
stop trying
Yes.
to be there for everyone else. I've learned, there were seasons that the Lord told me to walk away and I didn't walk away.
Mhm.
And he made the situation so bad that the separation happened anyway. But had
Mhm.
I walked away when he said to walk away, then I wouldn't have had that pain or that discomfort. And like you said, it's easy. We're so used to dysfunction. We're
Mhm.
so used to being in a place. And I was just talking to them earlier before you got on about my therapist, and she said maybe you're not grieving the people, you're grieving the distraction. You're so
Mhm.
used to having the distraction there. It wasn't the separation from the people, it was the separation from the distraction, because now you have nothing else to do but focus on what God is calling you to do, to focus on yourself. The phone is not ringing. Somebody doesn't have a problem. Someone, you don't have to run in and save the day and fix it and
Mhm.
set this up. You were so focused on the distractions of the relationship that you never really looked to me. You never really took time for me, because there's some things in you that I need to pull out. There's some things in you that I have to fix, but I cannot fix it when you are distracted. And I love my therapist because I love my therapist. She will have you really have a moment where you have to stop and think. And she said, listen, what if you have never lived life because you are always looking about it? Because I told her, I said, listen, I don't understand how these people just be prancing through the woods like a little deer. They just prancing, they have no care in the world. And here I am in the bushes looking for the hunter. And I'm scared to go prance because I know there's a hunter in the woods. I know something has happened. And even if I am out there prancing, I'm not enjoying the prance. I'm not enjoying the field because I'm
Yeah.
watching, looking, waiting for, when is the next shoe going to fall? When is this person going to hurt me? When is this person going to break my heart? So I never had a chance to live life. And she said, well, let me ask you a question. The ones who are prancing in the woods that have no care about the hunter, is it possible that even though they're going to die happy? They're going to die in a place of doing the thing that they want. But you're still going to die with them, but you're going to die seeing the death coming. You're going to die seeing the hunter. Why? Because you didn't live life to the fullest. You didn't prance with everyone else. You didn't stop and smell the flowers. You didn't give yourself a time of peace. And that's what many of us as Christians, we want to press in the woods. We want to press through the field, and we want to stop and smell the roses. But we're always, because of the church hurt, the mother wounds, the pain of our past, we're always looking and searching for the hunter to come out at any moment, that we're not enjoying this thing called life. We are living, but we are not thriving. We are
Mhm.
just getting by. We are just making it. So when we're talking about you all about separation, we're not bringing separation up for you to get stuck in the transition of the separation. We're bringing separation up because many times in church, they don't talk about the pain of separation. They don't talk about the tears that fall. They don't talk about the doubts that you have in that season of separation, in that season of preparation. But these are the things that we have to be transparent about so that you won't think that you are doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
You won't think that you're a bad Christian. You won't think that you wasn't called to do what God is calling you to do. You know, Pastor Brandon, when we are, talking about that separation, I was telling them that I asked Chat GPT, act as the devil. Act as the devil. How would you cause us to be hindered as men and women of God because someone has walked away without a final closure? And the things that he said was the stagnation. I would make you feel like nobody else is there. I would separate you from everybody and everything that you love, and you would still have that question of why. Because you would not see your purpose that God has called you. You would only see the pain that was caused
Yeah.
by people,
Yeah.
And so what it's so important that we understand that we can't get stuck in the wilderness, that we have to prepare for the promise.
Hmm. Yeah. Because the Bible says in Proverbs, look at the ants, how they prepare for the winter. They
Hmm.
take time to work the store, to do all these things. We have to learn to do the exact same thing. We have to learn to prepare for where we're going. We have to learn not only prepare, but appreciate where we're going.
Right.
Some of us, we have a tendency of depreciating where we're going because we want to hold on to where we are or where we were. And when you do that, you lose the value and appreciation of where when you get there, you're just like,
Hmm.
okay, now you're already thinking about, well, what's going to happen next? But you don't take the time out to, it's just like we that are builders.
Hmm.
We always thinking about what needs to be done next, what we have to do next. Instead of taking the time out to stop and like, we need to do like God did.
Hmm.
On the seventh day, he rested and looked at his what he
Right.
created. But we don't do that. We always think, what's necessary? I do this because, as you said, we love the distractions. We learn to keep
Hmm.
moving forward. Sometimes, as you said, that we have to learn to just stop living and start thriving because at the end of the day ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, what did you do with that day? Did you take time out to
Yeah.
breathe and laugh and enjoy life? Let me tell you something. The Bible tells us that man is born of a woman and of a few days, and their days will be full of trouble.
Hmm.
Things are going to happen.
Right.
It's life. It's going to happen. But
Mhm.
how you look at it determines how your outlook is going to be and how long you stay in it.
Right.
Because we all can make excuses and blame everybody for something. But either you're going to stay in that moment 10 years from now,
Hmm.
or you're going to say, okay, this was a moment. I'm going to get past it. I'm going to get over it. And I'm going to enjoy life.
Right.
It is vital that we learn to have better viewpoints of our life, our
Hmm.
mind, our heart, our spirit, where we are. It could always be worse.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
be real about it. It can always be worse. There are some people that are in worse positions than we are, and we're complaining about the small stuff. You got a roof over your head, but yet you can ride past people that are homeless. Let's go there. You riding past people, driving past people that are homeless, and you complain about, Lord, I ain't got money for gas. Lord, this car, this. But look at where you are.
Yeah.
Appreciate what you have. The Bible
Right.
said, be faithful over a few things, and all things
Hmm.
give thanks
Give
because
thanks.
you never know where you may be. So as we are moving along, learn to appreciate where you're going. It may not feel good, but it's going to be for your better.
And we have to have gratitude. Like we
Yes.
have to take a moment. There was a time that I was sitting there, Pastor Brandon, and my knees was hurting so bad. And I was like, oh my goodness, my knees. And I'm complaining. And I just happened to look over and I saw a man in a wheelchair with no legs. And I was like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
At least, yes, I have pain in my knee, but at least I'm able to get up and walk around. So
Yes.
many times we're not grateful because we're so busy looking at everyone else.
Yes.
If you don't understand how to use binoculars and you're thinking, okay, I just want to look through the binoculars, my eyes are big, so I'm going to look through the big part. If you do that, you're going to see the small version. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're looking through the way that you're looking is going to look like it's small. It's going to look like you don't have anything. It's going to look like you don't have enough money in the bank. It's going to look like you
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough
Mm-hmm.
friends around you. It's going to look like you are stepping in lack. But if you turn the binoculars the other way and you look through the small lens, you will be able to see the bigger picture of what's going on. And see, many of us were so used of looking through the lens and seeing things small. I was talking to someone one day and she was like, "Girl, listen, I got $1.50 in my bank account." I was like, "What? Huh?" Do your bank even allow it to stay open with $1.50 in the bank account? But yet I was saying earlier that day, man, I'm just in a place of lack. I'm in a place of this. But then talking to her, I realized that I was in the exceedingly and abundantly part of my life. Even if it was $10, $20 in the
Yeah.
bank account, I was in a better place. And if we don't allow ourselves to have gratitude for
Mm-hmm.
what we have, we are so easy to ask for more, but we
Mm-hmm.
haven't said thank you for what you have. We haven't said thank you for the things that God gave you. Yesterday, my daughter sent me a text out the blue. And she said, "Mom, I just love you so much." And I had to stop. And as the mom, like, what she want? But what she need? Because this is out the blue. And so, I was
Yeah.
working with it. I'm like, "Baby, I got your text. What's wrong? What do you need?" She said, "I don't need anything, Mom. I just wanted to tell you that I love you." So could you imagine how that made me feel?
Yeah.
Could you imagine how it makes the Father feel when we just stop and say, I don't want anything. I just want to let you know that I love you. Yes, I'm in my transition. Yes, I'm in my separation season, but I just want to say thank you. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you that you gave me
Mm-hmm.
another day. Thank you that you picked me up off the floor when I was crying and didn't feel like I could get up. Thank you for wiping away my tears and giving me strength to move on. Thank you that I'm in this wilderness place. Now, what do you want me to learn from the wilderness place? We miss a lot of lessons that God has for us because instead of us being thankful in that place, we are trying to get out of it. I don't want to be in it because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Pastor Brandon,
Yeah.
it don't feel good in this place. I don't want to be here long. I'm ready for the joy. I'm ready for the distractions. I'm ready for the other things. I don't want to sit in here and think and wonder and ponder about what's going on. But I tell you that when you in that separation season, when you are in that transition, see, I can smile now because I made it through. I crossed over to the other side. But there was a season of wilderness where I had to keep smiling. I had to keep pushing. I had to keep going. And I'm so thankful that the Lord always sends someone to be right there with you, to give you an encouraging word, to let you know just keep pushing. Just like they're in the labor delivery room, the doctor said, "Listen, I just need you to give me one more good push, and the baby will be here. I see the head, I see it crowning. Yes, there's going to be some ripping and some tearing, but guess what? It's going to produce the promise." So, Pastor Brandon, why is it important for us to look at the good in the midst of what we see is bad?
Because the Bible says, you know me, think
Hmm.
of those things that are good.
Come
Think of those
on.
things that are pure. Think of those things that are honest, that bring a good report. Think of
Hmm.
those things that are lovely. Because when you think on the positive things,
Hmm.
when everything else is going crazy, you be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's going to work out for my good.
Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Yeah.
I'm still wonderful. I still got good health. Yeah, I may be moving slow, but I'm moving.
Yeah.
I may not have $1 million, but I got a few dollars to do what I need to do.
Right.
And it's amazing that you said that about Keanu, because oftentimes you know, many of us when we go to bed, we say these long, drawn out prayers and all this stuff. Sometimes I just get on my knees and say, God, I don't want nothing. I just want to say I love you and thank you.
Mm.
And I just go to bed. Because sometimes when you always go into him with a long dissertation,
Oh, Jesus, come on.
you just going through all, and then it gets, and now don't get me wrong, sometimes you need to do that. But
Right.
sometimes he just want to hear, thank you. I love you.
Right.
Have a good night. Amen. And
Amen.
and to me, for me, it makes me feel good that I can go to my dad at any time and just be like, hey, I don't even want nothing. Even if you don't wake me up in the morning, I want you to know my last breath as I am conscious. I want to say I love you and
My
thank you.
God. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gives you a sense of that expectation.
Yeah.
You know, is that expectation. I can only imagine. We talk about the children of Israel who walked around the wilderness for 40 years, but I can only imagine when the ones who was complaining and murmuring, wanting to go
Mhm.
back to Egypt died out. There was a
Mhm.
season of expectation that they was talking about how God parted the Red Sea, how they
Mhm.
talked about that he was giving them manna in the wilderness, how they
Mhm.
was talking about because even
Mhm.
though the ones died out, still in that season, God was still giving them manna
Yeah.
because the manna didn't stop until they got to the other side and start eating the food in that area. And see, I could only imagine the expectation of the ones who was maybe 2 or 3 years old and all they remember was the wilderness. They,
Yeah.
oh God, you're about to take me to something greater. Yes, it's dry right now. Yes, it don't feel good. The heat and the cold, it doesn't feel good right now.
Mhm.
Yes, I have to do certain things. We have to pack up and we got to move this the whole thing again. We got to pack up all the tents. We got to pack up the tabernacle. We got to pack up all these things. But God, I know that today could be the day that we step into the promised land.
Mhm.
Today could be the day that you're going to give me my breakthrough. Today could be the day that my finances are going to turn around. See, that's how we have to have that expectation. Today is the day that you're going to heal my body. But yet we walk around and we talk about the pain. Oh, my body is aching. Oh, I'm broke. Oh, sister so and so and brother so and so just walked past me and they didn't speak to me. That's your season of separation.
Yeah.
What are
Yeah.
you doing in the preparation to be able to have peace when you step into the promised land? See, that preparation prepares your heart for what you're about to receive. And Pastor Brandon, when I think about it now, when I look back over my life, when I look back over the year and a half of the separation, of the grief cycles, I'm so thankful that even in that, God kept saying, "You're my daughter.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
called you for such a time as this."
Yeah.
It may not feel like it right now. You may not be able to embrace it right now, but you haven't changed in my eye. You're still a prophet to the nation. You're still called to be who I've called you to be. So because you don't see it, doesn't mean that I don't see it. I
Mhm.
still see who you are. And I would find myself asking God, God, show me how you see me. Like right now, I just need more encouragement. Show me how you see me. Just like the people in the birthing room, they're saying, "You can do it. Just keep pushing. I know it hurts, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. Just keep pushing." And that's what the little kisses that I say that God was giving me throughout this time. He was saying, "Baby, it's okay.
Mhm.
Let me show you where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Let me show you how you're going to move." And he started putting people and things in my life that I had no other choice, but I couldn't die in the wilderness. I couldn't die in my separation because someone needed to know. And then, it was a time that I received this message from my spiritual son. And when I tell you, that message came right on time because it was in my season of doubt. It was my season of, God, am I really called? God, is bridging the gap really helping anybody? God, should I just let it go because now I'm here and I'm tired, and it was so many things. And when he sent that message, it just gave me the strength to keep moving. It just gave me the strength to say, okay, God, Now it's time to take it to a new level.
Yeah.
Now it's time to talk about the promised land. We've talked about the separation. We talked about the pain. We talked about this, that, and the other. But now let's talk about the joy of the expectation, the joy of stepping into the promised land. So, Pastor Brandon, what are some of the things that you have noticed that in your separation and preparation that God would do for you that would allow you to keep moving, even though your heart may have been wounded, even though you may have been exhausted? How did you keep moving?
Oh, do we have time for that? Um, one of the things that keeps me moving is that every so often he'll allow favor to manifest.
Mm,
And then when I think that I'm really at my lowest and that I'm so far from God and it's just like I'm ready to just give up, something will happen. I'll be like, really? You heard me when I said that like 4 months ago. Now you decide you want to do
right.
it. And you know, and little things like that on people coming out of the blue. Like I've encountered angels in the form of man who have
Mm-hmm.
come out of nowhere, spoke a word, and when I look for them, they're vanished. It's little moments like that to help me to realize you're doing right. Or somebody just got the blue come and give me a word about something that he and God and I talked about. I'm just like, yo, God, like, thank you. Because sometimes when going through things, you feel separated from him.
Right.
You know, and it's just like, okay, are you listening? I really feel like the prophet, like, okay, I've been praying for you for an answer, and the
Yeah.
angel had take, he answered you the first time,
Yeah.
but there was a war that was going on that I couldn't get to, and I'm like, God knows God, come on, like I need you to come on, like right now, and then all of a sudden it just happens. You be like, oh, okay, I can breathe now. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, so it's moments like that, and not only that, remembering that it's not about me.
Right.
I think that's what really helps me to keep going because I'm the type of person I want to see people do better. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes going through stuff, I find myself ministering to people or talking to people while I feel like giving up and helping them. I'll be like, okay, this is why I can't give up because there are still people that need what God has given to me that I can pour into them. Because my whole thing is when I close my eyes for the last time, I want to
Mm-hmm.
be empty. I want to know that I did everything God asked me to do. So when I leave, I can smile and be like, yeah, I did
Mm-hmm.
that.
And and it's so important when we talk about. I was telling them earlier before you got on that we do a prayer and fasting on Wednesdays with Apostle Sharon, and the topic that we talked about during the prayer was Psalms 1. And he talked about if you meditate on my word day and night, you will be like a tree planted by the rivers.
Mhm.
And it's in that planning, that position that you are sustained. But what I love about it, when you think about a tree that's planted by the river, the root goes deep. But also there's a when it grows up, there's a place for people who are weary to come lay against. There's a place where people are exhausted and tired where they can get into the tree and they can get the fruit that they need. They can get the shade that they need. And that's why we are like a tree planted. Many times there's going to be people that's going to come rest against us, that they just need a moment to catch that breath. And we have to be able to tell them about the living water, about what it feels like to be planted by the rivers, what it is to have the living, to know Jesus, what it is to have rivers of living waters coming out of us, what it means to have the Holy Spirit covering over the waters. We have to get to a place that because we are now positioned by the river, because we have taken time to get into the position, the presence, the place with God, where we are now able to soak in what He has used to sustain us with, that when someone leans against us, we won't fall over. Why? Because I'm sustained. My roots have gone deep and I'm getting the nourishment that I need. I may not have anyone come and tell me about who God is. I may not have anyone to walk up and encourage me, but if I'm planted and my posture is in God, He's going to give me everything that I need. He's going to keep me, that even though I may feel like I'm in the valley, He's going to keep me sustained. Why? Because there's going to be so many who's not going to be able to stand on their own, that they're going to have to come and take a minute to lean against the the tree. They're going to have to come and take a minute to pick fruit from the tree. They're going to have to come in. I just need to be hidden. I just need some shade right now because the sun of life is burning me, is scorching me. I just need a place to rest. So why is it important that we remember, even in our transition, even in our separation, even in the preparation, to position ourselves so securely in the Lord, because even in our place where we feel broken, we're still somebody else's strength.
Because the wonderful thing I do love about the scripture is it says that the tree is planted by the rivers of water. What many people don't realize, tree roots always going to spread out where they can sense water.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is our living water. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm planted, my roots is planted in the water. I'm
Come on.
always have enough nourishment to pull back from it. So while other people may be leaning on me and I feel like I don't have nothing, I know I'm connected to the source.
Right.
So when we learn the importance of getting our roots deep down in God, the Bible says, if you abide in my word and my word abiding in you, then nothing
Mm-hmm.
you ask, I will hope. We have to understand, we have to take on the fullness of who he is. And when that happens, we'll be able to be a help to someone else, will also be an example that even though the top of my tree, I may have limbs fall off, leaves may fall off, but my roots is secure in the living
Mm-hmm.
water.
Right.
That ain't going nowhere. I don't care. You may cut me down up here, but as long as I'm connected to the source, I'm gonna grow once again.
Lord,
And we
yeah.
have to really understand that because we getting time hitting. So yeah, about that time. So we have to understand that that scripture is so imperative to a believer because it teaches us, don't just be planted by anything. Be planted by the rivers of water.
The rivers, yes.
Because and when we understand that river water, it always moves. And if I'm planted with something that moves, that means my roots gonna always be refreshed. It's gonna
Mm-hmm.
always be renewed. It's gonna always be to a place that can be restored. To
My
where it may not seem like I got it all up top, but down deep down on the inside
God,
of me,
on the
there's
inside.
something that's
Yeah,
always moving.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something that's always pressing. There's something that's always living. So now, even though you may see during my season of fall, it seems like everything dying off of me. Keep watching, because sooner or later spring is coming. And when I come up, I'm gonna come up alive. I'm gonna come up breathing. I'm gonna have new leaves. I'm gonna have new branches. That the new person that comes up that needs more help, I'm strengthened for them. So
Yeah.
we have to make sure
My
that we are in a
God.
place that
Ooh,
God can
listen.
continue to allow our roots to be in Him, that the perseverance, the perseverance continue to
Mm-hmm.
flow, that we can always be attached to the source and not just the resource.
Right. And what you said, my roots are so deep
Hmm.
that you may see all my leaves falling off. I may even
Hmm.
look dead to you right now, but just keep watching.
Hmm.
Just keep on looking. You
Hmm.
about my springtime is coming. My
That's it.
springtime is coming.
I spring
Listen.
back strong.
Woo, because I don't know if you remember the hurricane that came through Danville.
Hmm.
And when I was walking through, I saw these huge trees. I mean, the tree was huge. But when the storm knocked it over, when I looked, the roots was so small. Like I
Yeah.
was wondering, how has this tree was able to get this big and be this tall and have such a small root system? But it was where it was planted. It was planted in between two houses. So there's
Yep.
only so much it can go out to. There's only so much it can grow. It went up, but it never went deep down. It never went
Yes.
deep. It sprung up and it was cute and it was pretty and it did what it, but soon as the storm came,
Hmm.
and touched it, it had
Hmm.
nothing to sustain it. It had nothing
Hmm.
to anchor it. It had nothing to keep it lodged in. And I'm so
Hmm.
thankful that I'm anchored in Christ Jesus, that when the storm came, it didn't blow me over. It didn't take
Hmm.
me out. When the storm came, yes, my leaves may have blown off. Yes, I may have bent or leaned a little bit. But guess what? I never fell. Why?
That's
Because
it.
my roots had been sustained, and it went deeper than you could see. See, you see the tree on the outside, but my root system went deep
Yeah.
inside so thankful. I was telling someone, I'm so glad that I knew I had a relationship with God and I knew who Jesus was in my life, because this year and a half would have taken me out. This year and a half would have had me throw up my hands and be like, listen, I'm sick and tired of these church folk. Listen, listen. I'm just going to listen.
Yeah. Yeah.
These church folk, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm done with church folk. I'm done
Yeah.
with these people, And the Lord was like, but I'm calling you. I said, well, God, I'm going to say yes because you're telling me to do it. But I need to put a disclaimer out there. I don't like you people. God, I love them because you told me I'd have to love them, but I don't like them because they nasty and they're rude and they hurt you. They're bite your hand. I can only imagine a shepherd that's dealing with the sheep. He's trying to feed the sheep. He's trying to take care of the sheep. He's trying to make sure the sheep is cared for, and the sheep is biting them. The sheep is trying to ram them. The sheep is trying to run away because. But I am so thankful, Pastor Brandon, with the circle that God has put me in, the group of people that he has allowed to be in my life. We may not talk every day. We may not have discussion every day, but I know that, I may not even call them and tell them that I'm having a problem, but I get a phone call, I get a text message. Hey sis, are you okay? Hey ma, are you okay? Why? Because I know that the Lord has laid me on someone's heart and I have to keep pushing. That if the Lord has laid me on someone's heart, if he's laid me, that it means he understands the season that I'm about to go through. He understands the emotion that I'm about to have. But when you get to a place like my therapist again said, listen, stop trying to think about how it's going to be and just let yourself feel.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Stop thinking about it. Let yourself feel. And I said, absolutely not. Absolutely. I'm okay with thinking about, okay, love. Love, the definition is love is this. And so this is love. So I can move in this way because the definition says that this is what love is. The definition said this is what peace is. The definition said this is what this, that, and the other, because now I'm logical and I can think about it. And if I can think about it, I know, okay, well, that's love because it's falling in the definition. Oh yeah, that's anger because it's falling in the definition. He said, stop thinking about it and start feeling. Now, how are you going to be able to walk in the fullness of God when you're not allowing yourself to feel and get out of your mind? And then it hit me after I got off the phone with her, because I was like, absolutely not. We don't have to talk about this next week because right now I don't see how it's going to happen. But when I got off the phone with her and I took a moment to think about what we talked about, it's the same thing that I tell people. You have to take it from head knowledge to heart knowledge. Yeah. And then when you take it from head knowledge to heart knowledge, there's going to be, and now I realize why it seems so intense this last year and a half. Why? Because I've allowed myself to start feeling. See, my cutoff is smooth. And the reason my cutoff was smooth is because I was always in the intellect of it. Oh, you don't want to be my friend? Okay, well, the definition of friendship is this. And so if you're no longer my friend, that means that we don't have nothing else to do. We didn't have no conversations. We ain't going out to no parties. We ain't cooking no dinner together because you're no longer my friend. So it was easy. It was easy for me. My cutoff, Pastor Brandon, was so smooth. Listen, that I could walk right past you. Yeah. Praise the Lord. Thank you. We ain't gotta have a conversation. And I would give you the face like I don't even come to me and act like you're about to talk to me, because in my mind you're no longer my friend. So there's no conversations that we can have. But see, my therapist and the Lord has been working on me walking and feeling, because of where He's calling me. I have to be able to feel. I have to be able to not be in that logical state of mind. So that's why the pain was so intense, because now I've allowed myself to feel love, to feel hurt, to feel this. Because listen, I could be hurt today and be like, okay, that's enough. Definition of hurt is this. I've gone through it. Well, I need another definition. Because I can't stay in this place. I'm not going to fester. I'm not going to be no victim. I'm not going to sit here and cry, because logically in my mind, it didn't make sense. But when we allow ourselves to go from head knowledge to heart knowledge, God, I just love you. And I was talking to my husband just the other day when we was at his birthday, and he said, "Baby, I love you." And I said, "You know what?" And that feeling hit, and tears came in my eyes, and I started crying when I said, "Baby, I love you." Like, and I'm sitting there, and he's just smiling. I'm thinking to myself, "What in the world? Who is this woman that's sitting there crying?
Oh, just walking.
Oh, this woman." But it showed me that God is allowing me to have that feeling, and it was like something in our marriage ignited, because I no longer had the head knowledge. I was allowing myself to have the heart knowledge of how I feel towards my husband. But it's the same on everything now, because now I have the heart knowledge that if someone talked to me, I'm not trying to analyze. I'm able to be in the moment, because my brain is always that people are talking to me and I'm listening, but I'm thinking about something else.
Mhm.
I'm listening and I'm there, but my mind is somewhere else. Okay, I got to do this when I get out, finish talking to them. Lord, why they talking to me in Walmart? I got to go. I'm gonna forget the list. So I'm never in the present. But now I find myself in the present, that I take a moment and enjoy the relationship that we have, enjoy the conversation that we have, enjoy the food that we have. And that's what the Lord is saying with us. Though you are going through a separation, though you are going through the preparation, allow yourself to be in the present. Feel the pain, feel the anger, feel the things that you need to feel. But then I want you to think about the good things. What are some of the good things? Because one thing I know for sure, that your mind will not be able to hold two different thoughts at the same time. So if you're thinking about pain and brokenness, and you shift your thoughts to things of happiness and joy, your mind can't hold on to the thoughts of the negative. It's going to lean towards what you're currently thinking about. And it's called the power of displacement. You have to know how to displace that negative and fill it with good. And that's why the Lord said, think on these things, the things that are pure, that are loving. That's a good report. Because sometimes we don't remember. There's things. Listen, I need to tell this person about this, because to me that's a good report. That's going to give me some joy. And so, Pastor Brandon, we every time it hit this lesson.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But I'm so thankful that God took me out of Egypt,
There you go.
allowed me to go through my wilderness,
Yeah.
and now I'm stepping like the Jordan is parting right now. It's like, I don't know about you all, but I see the Jordan parting. What does that mean? That means that I'm about to leave the wilderness and I'm stepping into the promise. And in the promise is a land flowing with milk and honey. Can you imagine when you get to a place where you're no longer worried about what they say, what
Yes.
they do, how they come? Listen, okay, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. God bless you. Listen, I'm going to keep moving and doing what I have to do. So, Pastor Brandon, thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of Bridging the Gap. Thank you so much. And I'm thankful, because every time, the Lord had so much for me to say during that time, that it had to be something that wasn't a conversation. It had to be
Yeah.
something that was released to the people. So, God is in everything. He knows what to do and how to do it. So is there anything that the Lord is laying on your heart to tell those watching, or those who will watch the replay?
Yes. One thing is, well, the main thing is what we sometimes kind of skip over is when the Israelites was in the wilderness for 40 years. They kept complaining and wanting to go back to under the authority of Pharaoh.
Hmm.
But they had forgot Pharaoh was dead. And the problem was they was trying to resurrect something that God had killed.
My God.
So don't be like the Israelites. He has already taken care of all your depression. He's even killed all of that. Don't resurrect dead when he's trying to give you life.
Yes.
They could have easily went on to the promised land, but because they kept trying to resurrect the cemetery, they had to walk around 40
My,
years because they wanted to stay in the cemetery. They couldn't go back. They couldn't go back to be a slave. The slave killer was dead. The
come
slave
on.
driver was dead. They couldn't go back and get the same treatment because God had destroyed it.
Yes.
So we have to remember that. Don't resurrect that which God had already killed. It's a spirit. Get rid of it and move forward so you can not only see the promised land, but also enjoy the promised land.
Right. Right. Thank you so much, Pastor Brandon. And then we're going to go a little deeper. Let's talk about Moses.
There you
Don't
go.
allow yourself to be the one that bring them out of slavery. Walk with them for 40 years in the wilderness, and then find yourself not able to go into the promised land because of people.
Yes.
Because of the ones who hurt you, because of the ones that's mumbling, complaining. See, Moses knew the instruction that God told him, but because he was so focused on the people, he knew the water was going to come from the rock. But because he was so angry with the people, he didn't speak to the rock like the Lord told him. He struck the rock out of anger. I'm so sick of these stiff-necked people. I'm so sick of these people that's always talking about me. I'm so sick of the people that hurt me and broke my heart. So I'm going to strike the rock. And see, you have to understand the representation of the rock. See, he was letting them know that if you speak to the rock that's higher than I, there's a rock that's higher than I. When you speak to the rock, then things have to change. Things have to move. Things have to, the water has to come up. Why? Because I'm speaking to the rock. But see, there has to be a time that he has to show you how to hit the rock. But then when you know who he is, when you know what he's going to do for you, you have no other choice but to speak to the rock. And you're going to get what you need to be sustained. See, speaking to the water, he still let the water flow because he's God. But when you speak to the rock, it would allow you to be sustained in a place where you thought you was going to die. So how many of us, we so busy speaking to people, we're so busy speaking to circumstances, we're so busy speaking to this, that, and the other. Take a moment and speak to the rock.
Yeah.
Let the rock know it's me, oh Lord, that's
That's
standing
right.
in the need of prayer. Let the rock know that, listen, I was studying in Matthew when Peter was drowning. He said, listen, when he was drowning, when he realized that the waves and the wind was boisterous, was hitting him in his legs, was distracting him, he lost his sight of Jesus and he started sinking. But even in sinking, he had enough air to say, listen, I'm not trying to get some air so that I can live in as I'm drowning. He said, listen, I'm letting the air out because I'm going to say 3 words. Lord, save me. And that's what we have to be in this season. I'm not trying to soak in the air, but I'm going to speak. Lord, save me. Just like Moses should have spoke to the rock, you have to now speak up, Lord, save me. It's me, oh Lord, that's standing in need of prayer. It's my heart that's breaking. It's my doubts coming in. It's my fear trying to overtake me. Lord, save me. Because in saving me, there's going to save the church. It's going to save the people that I'm called to. It's going to save the things. So you have to start speaking to the rock and not allow the people to get you in a place that you don't make it over to the promised land. I couldn't imagine Moses standing on the hilltop, seeing them leave and go to the promised land, and I can't go. And I'd have been with these stiff-necked people. I'd have cried out for them. I'd have prayed and fasted for them. I'd have climbed the mountain for them. And now I am still in the wilderness, and you're going over to the promised land. Lord, save me. And sometimes we have to say, Lord, save me from me. Save me from my mindset.
That's it.
Save
That's
me
it.
from my
That's
mouth.
it.
Save me from my attitude. Save me from me.
Mhm.
And watch and see how God will part the Jordan. Because he said, listen, tell the children to consecrate themselves.
Mhm.
Because tomorrow they're going to cross over. In other words, separate yourself because your tomorrow is here. It's
Yeah.
time for you to cross over. But you got to separate yourself. See, that season of separation, you're looking at it as a bad thing. He said, tell them to consecrate themselves, meaning there has to be a separation. Stop doing some things. Stop talking to some people. Consecrate yourself because tomorrow we're going over to the other side. So I love each and every one of you. Tomorrow, you're going over to the other side. So embrace the separation. Speak to the rock that's higher than I. Speak to Jesus. Let him know this is what I'm going through. But God, I trust you. This is the pain I may have, but I trust you. This is what people may say, but I trust you. Lord, save me. Save me so that I can be used by you. So you all have an amazing, amazing week. We will be back here on Thursday with another Bridging the Gap. We have closed the season of separation, and I'm just excited. I don't know what God is about to do in the next couple of seasons, but I know that he's saying, listen, now you understand the separation was for the preparation. Now you understand that there's a transition. So if you just hang with me, I'm going to give you instructions for what to do on the other side. So you all just hang with us on Bridging the Gap. Know that we love you. Know that we're here. I say it every Thursday that I'm on. If you need me, we're just a phone call. We're just a text away. So we love you. You all have an amazing night, and we will talk to you on Thursday. Bye-bye.